Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's me coming at you again with another vid. Now, before I proceed with this video, I had heard some bickering that occurred yesterday on the YTBC forum. A resume battle between Gennady Golovkin and Deontay Wilder. Excuse me. Now, first thing first, I gotta say is this: one, it's a baseless argument to make. Okay. Two, Deontay Wilder and Gennady Golovkin fight in two different weight classes. That's 40 pounds apart. Okay. Three, they're still in their prime. Four, if you want to talk about their resumes and careers and you want to sum it up and compare and contrast, you do that after they retire from the sport of boxing. Okay, so let's leave it at that. Let's drop it. Let's move on to move on to other topics that's more relevant that we could all agree and disagree on. Okay, and another thing I gotta say is this, man. Look, I understand that no fighter's above criticism. You know, even my favorite fighters, I hold them to the highest to those standards as well as far as criticism is concerned. But the hate for Deontay Wilder and Gennady Golovkin is way over the top, okay? And here's the reason why I say this. Because, yes, Deontay Wilder is not fighting the opposition that he's supposed to fight, like his mandatories, Alexander Povetkin and other solid contenders, okay? Now, Arthur Szpilka was a good contender, is a good contender, okay? So that wasn't an easy fight for Wilder to win. So, because he was dealing with the southpaw who was very tricky, who was very slick, who was giving him all sorts of angles, so that way he could negate his right hand, his right hand punch, which is Wilder's best punch. Okay, so yes, I give him credit for that win, but eventually Wilder will have to fight, the top 10 opponents, and of course his mandatory Alexander Povetkin, because you have to understand the heavyweight division. There is no moving up and down in weight unless you're a small heavyweight. Then you have the option to go down to cruiserweight. But if you're weighing over 224 pounds or above, there's no way you can drain yourself to go down to cruiserweight. That's not going to happen. Okay, so Wilder's gonna have to fight guys that are gonna outweigh him by 15 pounds, 20 pounds, like he's always been doing, because he's a tall heavyweight, but he's not that big. Okay, mass wise. So there's no moving up and down in weight for Wilder. He's gonna have to face those guys one way or the other. So that's perfectly illustrating what's going on in the current crop of the heavyweight division at this point. These guys are fighting each other, and they're all knocking each other out. And that's the least I can say about Wilder. At least he's not giving us boring fights. He's knocking guys out, and that's what we pay for, right? Okay. Now, Gennady Golovkin, same thing. He's knocking guys out, right? But on the other hand, he's fighting in a division where people are ducking him. It's not his fault. But needless to say, we know recently that Billy Joe Saunders had opted out of the fight against Golovkin. He priced himself out, which we all know that Saunders didn't really want that fight to begin with. Okay, because first he put out a high price tag to begin with, and then he comes back out with another high price tag, which means that he really didn't want that fight. Okay, so what Billy Joe Saunders is going to do, he's going to have a safe title run and then may move up in weight eventually, or call it a career if that's what he wants to do, and keep that belt over in the UK, which is the WBO belt. So with that said, the only option that Golovkin has left is Canelo Alvarez, who is the linear champion at 160. However, he only fights it at 155, which is bullshit. So the WBC allows a man who's a 160-pound champion to create his own weight class and make demands that guys must fight him at that weight class. Wow. Okay. Now, if Golovkin can't get the Canelo Alvarez fight, then he has no choice but to move up in weight. He has no choice, because it's the only way he's going to get fights. He's going to have to move up to 168, where there's guys in there who gladly will fight him. Okay? Now, to me, I don't see no problem with that, and I give Golovkin all praise in the world. If he moves up in weight and he challenges himself, then he gets all the respect, more respect than I'm giving him at this point. So with that said, let's move on from this. Okay? Now, let me get into the main core of this video here. Now, the main core of this video is a response to Shady Slim, all right? Now, yesterday he put out a video and I think it was a video where he was responding to Blood Boss and Stuart Little, the other guy I don't really care too much about. I don't even know too much about. But he had put out a video where he was responding, and he also made the suggestion in other comments, in the comment sections of other videos, where he stated and he suggested that the welterweight division is much more deep, is much more better division than the heavyweight division. Well, well, let's get this out, okay? First things first, I have no problem with Shady. I think he's a cool cat. You know, he has some points, and he has a good channel. So care to check it out, subscribe, and share his content, okay? Now, I have to say this to Shady, man. I totally disagree with that because first things first, let's look at the welterweights, okay? I'm gonna bring this up real quickly here. Now, in the welterweight division, let's see who you got here. You have Manny Pacquiao, who's pretty much on his way out the door. You have Kell Brook, who hasn't been fighting anybody as of late. Keith Thurman, who's been quiet, as of late in regards to the Sean Porter situation, which I heard that fight will be confirmed in March, so let's hope that's true. Timothy Bradley, who's scheduled to fight Manny Pacquiao again. Amir Khan, we don't know who he's going to fight, but we do know he is the mandatory challenger to the winner of the Danny Garcia and Robert Guerrero fight, which I cannot believe the life of me how that fight even got sanctioned. Why is even sanctioned by the WBC? But you know what? It's coming from the WBC. Nothing new because their credibility is totally shot. Okay. Then you have Danny Garcia, which I just mentioned, who's fighting nothing but cherries and bums as of late, ever since the Mauricio Herrera fight. Then you have Lamont Peterson, who has yet to take one fight in the welterweight division. Actually, he only had one fight. My bad. But he's ranked high. Then you have Jesse Vargas, who just lost to Tim Bradley. You have Errol Spence Jr. Then you have Tasayo Madaze. I can't even pronounce his name because I think he's from Limpopo, where I think that's in South Africa, somewhere in Africa, I believe. David Asanyan, Saddam Ali, Antonio Orozco, Dmitry Matavenko, Leonard Bundu, Brandon Rios, who we thought was going to retire, but he announced that he's not retiring after all. Chris Algieri, Jeff Moore, and Kevin Bezier. Now, these are all top 20 welterweights, okay? Now, you have to understand, Shady, that what's going on in the welterweight division, no big fights are being made at this point, all right? Let me give you some examples. The WBC just announced a tournament, right, for the vacant title, all right, which Floyd Mayweather just recently vacated, all right? And I might add that ever since Floyd Mayweather had retired and left, that division has got worse and worse, all right? Now, it all starts with this damn tournament, okay? They announced a, quarterfinals, semifinals, and, one title bout, which I just mentioned, which is Danny Garcia versus Robert Guerrero, right? And the winner of that fight gets to fight Amir Khan. Wow, okay. And then you have other guys in there like Ray Robinson versus another guy. I can't recall who it is. You got Sammy Vasquez fighting another guy in there. And then you have two other names I can't recall. I have to go back and check. But my problem with this tournament is why aren't the other top welterweights involved? Why aren't they participating? Why isn't Manny Pacquiao participating? I know they got fights coming up, but at least the WBC could hold off that tournament to after the Manny Pacquiao and Tim Bradley fight. Okay? Kell Brook. Why isn't Kell Brook participating? Why isn't Keith Thurman participating? Why isn't Timothy Bradley participating? Oh, that's right. Lamont Peterson's in this tournament as well. Jesse Vargas. Why isn't he participating? Why isn't Earl Smith Jr. participating? Okay? Now, if you're going to put in a tournament like that, put out a tournament, you got to put the best of the best, okay? Just like how the heavyweights did it back in the 80s when Tyson became the unified undisputed champion. That's how he's able to do that. Just like the Super 6 tournament back in 2008, I believe, when you had guys like Carl Froch, Arthur Abraham, Jermaine Taylor, Andre Ward, Alan Green. You had all the top, Miguel Kessler. You had all the top super middleweights fighting each other in the Super 6 to prove to be the best, okay? This tournament is a sham, to be honest with you. And you see why, because I just perfectly illustrated the top names that's not even participating and the way the WBC has implemented it, all right? So you can't say, man, that this is a cream of the crop division where the best is not fighting the best. All right, not denying that there's still good names in there. There is. But the problem is nobody's really focusing on this division, including myself, because there's no excitement there. You got guys who are scared. I'm not saying they're scared. They're worried about losing their undefeated record because of the environment that Floyd Mayweather created when he was champion. He made it so important for you to take a fight with him. You have to be undefeated, which I felt that was a bit of hypocritical on his end because he took on guys who had losses. All right, but again, you had this belief that you had to be undefeated. You have to have some type of draw power to get a fight with him. But nah, that wasn't the case. He fought guys at an opportunistic time. But that's not besides the point. Besides the point is this, man. This division is not the cream of the crop. It's not going anywhere, man. I'll say this once and I'll say it again. Until these guys start fighting each other, then I'm not giving them more attention. It's done. All right? And that's the way it is, man. I mean, yes, you have your opinion, but I just think you're totally wrong on this. For you to say that the welterweights division is much better than the heavyweights. Now let's move on to the heavyweights. And I'm going to tell you why this heavyweight division is the cream of the crop. Okay, first things first. You have Tyson Fury, Vladimir Klitschko, Alexander Povetkin, Deontay Wilder, Kubrat Pulev. If you know who he is, if you don't, please take a look at his fights. Luis Ortiz, Charles Martin, Malik Scott, Erkin Tepper, who is going to get a 2-year ban because of a substance abuse that was found. So that record is going to be rescinded. Antonio Tarver is still hanging around. Joseph Parker over in New Zealand. If you don't know who Joseph Parker is, man, please take a look at him, man. Please take a look at his fights. Steve Cunningham, Carlos Takam, who's a devastating big puncher at the heavyweight division. Tony Thompson still hanging around. Zars Glaskov, who recently lost to Charles Martin, obviously. Anthony Joshua. You got Bermane Stavern still hanging around. Ruslan Jagayev. Derek Chisora. Thomas Adamek, who just came back. David Haye just came back, okay? Dillian White. So, I mean, I could go on and on, man. You got Amir Mansour in there, Charles Washington, Dominic Brazil, even Shannon Briggs. Now, take a look at those names, man. Take a look at the names that I just announced. All right? And already all these names are fighting each other. Or they have fought each other. And they will continue to fight each other. Okay? So, I don't understand how you can say that the welterweights is a better stacked division where there are no fights being made down there, bruh. There aren't any. And, you're probably going to say, well, why is everybody talking about the heavyweights now when nobody was talking about the division when Klitschko was champion? I was like, no, that's not true. I was an uploader back then, but I was a commentator. But I can recall there was several channels who were talking about the heavyweights. You had guys like Mr. Boxing Today, Hatman Strikes Back, and yes, Boxing Beats Orions on some occasions. They were talking about the heavyweights, okay? And the reason why here in the States we weren't too prone about it because all the heavyweights in the U.S. weren't getting title shots. They either had to go all the way over to Germany to fight Klitschko on his terms. Okay, Klitschko didn't fight in the States until a decade later when he fought Brian Jennings. Okay, who I forgot to mention. So, yeah, we were paying attention for the heavyweight division for the last 2 years now. Almost 3.5 years. Almost 3 years, I should say. Okay, so I don't know where people are. I'm not saying you, man, but I don't know where all these people are getting this narrative that we weren't paying attention to the heavyweight division until Wilder and Martin became champions. That's bullshit. It's not, I mean, come on, man. Seriously? Maybe to some casuals, yes. But to hardcore fans, no. We were eyeing the heavyweight division for a while now. Yes, it was not a great era when Klitschko was reigning. It wasn't. Okay? But I illustrated the reason why. Because, yeah, you didn't have the great crop of fighters, but Klitschko didn't really travel anywhere else but Germany for a whole decade. Yes, he went to Russia. Yeah, he fought Povetkin in a very, very dirty-ass fight that he should have been penalized for or disqualified. And then as I mentioned, he did go over to Brooklyn last year and fought Jennings. Okay? So, with that said, man, we agree to disagree, but I suggest you take a look at the names that I just announced in this video, man. And you'll see why I'm saying the heavyweight division is a much more better division than the welterweights. Much more. So, anyhow, if you guys agree to disagree, care to comment, subscribe, share, signing off. Peace.